Welcome back to the Effort Over Everything podcast. I'm your host, Jason Kleep, and on today's episode, we have 2021 CrossFit Games champion, Justin Medeiros. Justin had a very dominant performance at the CrossFit Games. He had an incredible year, and I couldn't wait to discuss with him not only this, but really his background. I reached out to him. I said, man, I really want to know more about you, how you grew up, how you were raised, what is your training style like, what's your mindset like? And he did an incredible job opening up about those things and discussing them. I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I did. Justin has an incredible career ahead of him. I can't wait to see what he does. Before we dive into the episode, I want to remind you, if you enjoy this episode, please rate it, review it, share it. And if you're a gym owner or coach and you haven't checked out the NC Fit Collective, you're missing out. Check out our session plans, our programming, our business tools. They're world class. And if you're an athlete looking to train your garage or at the gym, make sure you check out the NC Fit app. Now, without any further ado, let's dive into an incredible episode with the CrossFit Games champion, Justin Medeiros. Let's go. All right. So, Justin, you and I were just talking about this. I know that you're in school, and I was trying to figure out, wait, how does he go to Boise State and then also train in Vancouver, Washington? I just couldn't figure it out. And so can you tell me a little bit more about, what are you currently going to school for and how, I guess, COVID in some ways helped you because you were able to go remote? And then what is the plans for when you actually go back in person? How is that going to work?
Yeah, so I go to Boise State and I'm a kinesiology major and I'm on my senior year. But I was always in school there. And then I got connected with Adam and he said the only way we can work together is like in person because he doesn't like doing too much remote programs. So I started going there on my summer breaks and that was kind of the only time I could be there. And then COVID happened and obviously no one would ever wish for COVID to happen. No. But like I always try to pride myself to find like the good and like bad scenarios. And the good for me was I could train a lot more. My schedule was way more flexible and my school got moved online. So I was able to pretty much move out to Vancouver, Washington and like live with my coach and just train and really focus on that.
And so now you're in your senior year at Boise. So are you going to then be able to go back out there? And then what are the plans then for graduation? So you're a kinesiology major. And so what are the plans then to finish that up and how are you going to be able to do that?
Yeah, so I actually had like just some family stuff that happened. I had to take a semester off like a year and a half ago. So I was supposed to be graduated this spring, but I only have one more semester. So I graduate in December. So kind of just during the off season right now, I'll be finishing up school. I only have 2 classes left. So a low workload and just kind of finish up and get a relax, but it'll be in person this time. So I'll be at Boise.
Okay. Very, very cool. And then after that, so what are your plans for after graduation? You're obviously going to be training full time then and getting ready for the 2022 games. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, it's honestly pretty crazy to think about. I started working with Adam and I told him I have 2 years to qualify for the CrossFit Games, or maybe it was 3 years at the time. And I was like, then I'm going to graduate school and I'm going to have to get like a big boy job, you know what I mean? And try to figure out that part of my life if CrossFit, because I don't want to like keep chasing the dream that's never going to happen. And I was trying to be pretty realistic with myself. And now it's pretty cool to have the opportunity to like possibly do CrossFit like full time with like the help of sponsors and getting some prize money from competition. So I'm really curious. I feel like I just like really want to see what's possible if I dedicate like a full year to just 100% focused on CrossFit. And obviously I need to do something else because I can't just like consume myself with CrossFit. I'm going to need to have something else I can focus on, but I'm really excited to have the freedom to be able to do that.
And so on that note, I do think you're gonna be able to make it into a career, obviously, because you've been able to not only win the games, but the sponsorships and et cetera, coming out of your college. So you'll win the CrossFit Games and graduate from college in the same year, which is exciting. And actually for me, the same thing happened. So I graduated from college and won the CrossFit Games and it created a whole kind of decade of competing. And so winning this young is just amazing. And I mean, on the scale of where you think you're at with your potential, you're probably just scratching the surface, I imagine.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think after last year's games, I was just it was just so crazy to believe that I got third place at the CrossFit Games. Like, I went into that year, like, just trying to make it and qualify, and ended up winning my sanctional. And then I went a whole year of COVID not knowing where I was. And then I got third place on the online, like for stage 1 of the games, and then went to the games and actually got third too. And I was just like, when I picture the third fittest man on earth, like, I did not picture myself at all. And that's just because it's not because I wasn't working hard or putting in like all the time and effort, because I was, and I was pushing myself to absolute limit. But like, I just felt like I had so many holes in my game and so many things to get better at. And when I pictured the third fittest man on earth, I'm thinking of like just like you guys. I grew up watching you and Rich Froning and Matt Frazier and all this stuff. And it's just like crazy to believe that like that was me. And I spent a lot of last year just trying to like own that and believe that, okay, like I am one of the fittest people like in the world, and I need to start training and believing that. And I pretty much just focused on beating myself from last year. I said, I want the 2021 Justin to run circles around 2020 Justin. And that was our focus. You can't really focus on what everyone else is doing, just kind of focus on myself.
So at the games, obviously you had great performance, super consistent, pretty much top 10 in pretty much every event. But before that, at MAC, like you didn't win MAC. So how was it going from not winning your semifinal from a confidence perspective? Because you came off the games in third, and then essentially, I mean, you were arguably one of the top runners to win the CrossFit Games, but then you didn't win MAC. Like, how was that experience, and how did that prepare you for the games? Obviously, I'm going to talk to you about the games, of course.
But yeah, no, that was honestly a really weird kind of experience, because I came out of the MAC, even though I got third, I was like, that was an awesome competition for me. Like, every workout that came out, I executed well. I had some workouts that weren't like good for me, and I felt like I crushed them. And I was just super excited about like the field of athletes I was going against and how well I did in some of the workouts. That being said, I was like, dude, that was like almost a perfect run for me. And I got third. So I was like, I was nervous from that point, but I was like, I also felt like at the MAC, I never had any workouts that were like in my wheelhouse or workouts that really got me fired up. And like, I PR'd my snatch like in event 1, but there was also like 8 other guys that snatched 300 pounds. Yeah. But so there's a lot of stuff like that, and you can't control that. And I was just super happy with how I did. And I just knew that like I have 2 more months to prepare. That's why I wanted to do the MAC, was because it was the first one and I had the most amount of time to prepare for the games. And I really wanted to take time of that, like take advantage of that opportunity. Because if you did like West Coast, you only had like 3 weeks before you had to travel for the games. You're probably going to take a rest week after. So I wanted to do one really early so I had time to prepare. And like, I think my coach, like Adam, just really helped me with that. Like, we prepared for the MAC, and then that last 2 months was just solely focused on the CrossFit Games.
So I hear you talk about Adam a lot. I definitely want to talk about him, of course. But how did your training shift from MAC, which is more, I guess like an old school regional style, right? To then the games, which obviously has a broader exposure, swimming, blah, blah, blah. How does the training change from MAC leading into the games?
Yeah, it honestly changes so much. I mean, just like from this like standpoint 1 is just how much volume you're going to be doing. Like day 2 of the CrossFit Games had 5 workouts. Like the MAC was a 3-day event and we had 6 total. So like, it's just a whole different monster. You really got to like train your body to be able to handle that amount of volume. And I feel like when I train, like I want to go as the weekend goes on, like I want to be getting better. I know people are getting tired. Like I want to be able to sustain my fitness throughout the end of the weekend. And I think a good example of the games is at the MAC, there's a bunch of guys that snatched 300 and I snatched 285 and I PR'd. And that was event 1. And then at the games, event 12 was the MAC snatch. And I tied my PR and got 285. And 2 of the other guys in the field that were at the MAC, they both bowed out at 275. So just kind of increasing the volume. And one of the greatest things about the games is I think there's such a broad test of fitness, and you get to like do events and objects that you can't do anywhere else. And that just like fires me up, and trying to prepare for the unknowable. And like objects like the pig and stuff, it's like no one really has those at their gym. Like you just got to go out there and use your fitness. So I think events like that are so cool. And the swim and kayak, like you just don't get to do those beside the CrossFit Games. That whole year, you're just like leading up to the games, you're just trying to test all those different types of stuff, heavy yokes and all the fun stuff really for CrossFit.
And so you're coming off Mac, and then Adam's training. You're talking about volume, which I think this year potentially more than ever. I actually was talking to Chris Hinshaw recently about this. I mean, dude, you guys got put through the ringer, and there's no other way to put it. I actually thought the games were super well programmed. I thought that I really enjoyed it. But my question is, leading up from a volume perspective, what is a day of training? And I mean, we could talk about the now, today, or leading up into regionals, open, whatever. But when I was competing at the games, my training was always different for the open than the regionals and the games because the type of events were different. And like you said, the volume. But the volume seems to be increasing and the competition definitely is getting better, obviously. So what type of volume were you putting in from Mac then leading into the games? Are we talking 3 workouts a day, 4? What are we talking about there?
Yeah, so it's really different. I mean, we kind of do a slow build throughout the year. If you hammer yourself with high volume, now, your body's just going to be burnt out by the time games come. So we have to do that slow build, and you want to be firing all cylinders by the time the games come. And the games is super different because you can have 5 events in a day, and the MAC and stuff, that's just not going to happen. You're going to have 2, maybe 3 in a day. So my training lead up to the MAC, it's kind of 2 main sessions where throughout the week they're focused on different things, but CrossFit's always involved. I'll have weightlifting 3 days a week, bodybuilding 3 days a week, and then and those will be stacked in between each other, and then CrossFit kind of mixed in between. And when you get into the games, there's so many other aspects of fitness that are going to be tested. You kind of know in the open and quarterfinals, and sometimes not even at semifinals, you're probably not going to be swimming. So that's cut out of the program early on. And when you get into the June, July, you got to incorporate swimming 2-3 times a weekend because you just know that aspect of fitness is going to be tested. And you know that there's going to be running tested. There's certain things where you just know that that's going to happen. And what a little bit differently this year is we knew there was going to be 4-5 events a day. So we kind of did 4 sessions a day instead of doing 2. And they were all a little bit smaller, but just kind of train your body to, sorry, I got a phone call. But I just kind of train your body to be able to fuel in the morning, train hard for a session. And then you only have an hour and a half to prepare for the next session. So you got to learn how to eat, refuel, recover, and hit that next workout really hard. And do that 4 times a day is something that you definitely got to practice. Obviously the fitness is part of it, but to fuel your body and get ready to kind of warm up and cool down 4 times a day is a lot in and of itself, something that you really got to train. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, but you're talking about 3 weightlifting days, and you brought up bodybuilding. So what do you mean by that? Are those isolated muscle groups? Are you actually specifically saying, hey, I'm going to work my traps or my shoulders or whatever? You actually incorporate that style of pinpointing or no? Yeah, pretty much. Honestly, I brought another coach onto my team this year named Jesse Bufano. He's from he's up in Canada, and he's been on the CrossFit staff and stuff too. And just for me personally, I think I'm someone that lacks some upper body strength. If you look at last year's games, in the CrossFit total, I back squatted up there towards the top, and my deadlift was up there towards the top, and then my strict press was 25 pounds less than everybody. It's just kind of that raw upper body strength. And I don't struggle with jerks and stuff like that because the power comes from the hips.
You use the hips, yeah.
Yeah, so just kind of that raw strength, that's something that I've really struggled with. And shoulder strength not only is just strict press, you are pressing the bar on thrusters and handstand push-ups and even wall balls and whatever that is. And I think that's something that I really lacked. So we brought on another coach to really, the goal was to get my shoulders stronger, my pressing strength up. And I did 3 sessions a week. I FaceTimed them for an hour and a half and just worked on my upper body doing bench and presses and all just an hour and a half of just upper body building pretty much.
And some of that was isolated, I don't know, shoulder raises. And even, did you start even incorporating things like cables or mainly still dumbbells and barbells and whatnot?
Yeah, the cables were hard because we're in a CrossFit gym and we don't have it. But when I was around cable machines, we definitely got that in, and just doing a lot of dumbbell work and even pec flies and dumbbell rows and just trying to get everything up here, my lats, back, shoulders, delts, just everything super strong.
Yeah,
And it was a cycle. We did like, sorry, what were you saying?
no, I was going to say it's really interesting because historically, from a CrossFit perspective, you would think more compound, whatnot, but from a pure strength perspective, I mean, there's definitely value, of course, in this bodybuilding concept. But you're the first person I've talked to that specifically was incorporating that to benefit them for the CrossFit Games, right? And not looking at it as an aesthetic appeal, but actually using it to strengthen these micro pinpointed muscle groups. That's super interesting. I mean, that's something new.
Yeah, no, it was really cool to do. It's something so different. I've never done it before. And like Adam, he's just such an awesome coach. Like to have him in my corner is a game changer. And he knows every aspect of fitness, weightlifting, CrossFit, and all that stuff. But he's also one to admit, like, okay, like, yeah, I know bodybuilding stuff, but there's so many people out there that are experts in it that know more than me. So he was willing to go out there and reach out and bring these other coaches onto our team that, like, that's what they do, and they're super specific on that. And so to just have Adam, like, to be humble and like be able to be like, nope, this guy's more than me on this subject, and brings him onto the team and allows him to incorporate it in. And I actually brought him out to the games too. And we're like, our goal is just to build the best team we can. And it was super cool to have that bodybuilding though into my training. It was something different, weird, and I'd never done it before. And I'm like, frick, like, is this working? Is it not? And then I'm starting to do like higher pull-up volume, and my thrusters like are feeling so much better. I actually feel the pressing strength. It's not just my legs. And like last year at the games, the heavy thruster workout, I mean, obviously it was just a field of 5, but I got last and I wasn't really even close. And this year we had the thruster wall walk workout, and my shoulder stamina was just so much better than everybody else. I won my heat and got second overall. Scott Panchek crushed the workout. But it's really cool to see those bodybuilding aspects like transfer over into CrossFit.
So you have, Adam is your overall coach, and then you had a bodybuilding coach. Do you have any other coaches that support you, like a swim coach or run coach, or you mainly just stick with Adam and this bodybuilding coach?
Yeah, we actually have a weightlifting coach that trains out of our gym. I do all my Olympic weightlifting with him, the snatch, clean, and jerk squats. And we also have another coach that I don't get to see him too often, but Adam kind of bounces ideas off him, and he'll kind of give us like 10 or 15 workouts, and we'll kind of drop those into our training as needed. And once I kind of used all of them, then he'll give us a new batch, and he just kind of helps me with machine work. So just rowing, biking, skier, just kind of gives me just pure machine workouts that I can try to build, because that's what he does. He works on machines. He's like a concept 2 guy.
I love it. I love it. And so how did you feel after, so the CrossFit Games had 15 events. They were all pretty like high intent, like they were all pretty demanding because you're trying to win and they're tough, right? How'd your body feel the next couple of days? Were you pretty beat up, or were you feel pretty good?
Yeah, no, I mean, you kind of put on that game face when you're in competition. Like, you go and you're sitting in the athlete briefing, everyone sits down, you talk, and you
act cool, yeah.
Yeah, you walk down the stairs, like, just don't make a face, like, don't just be like, I'm feeling like, oh yeah, I'm not sore, I feel good. Like, 55 thrusters at 185, my legs feel fresh, you know what I mean? But inside, I'm like, oh my gosh, my legs hurt to touch right now. But one thing that was really cool is I talked to Adam about just after the competition. Was like, yeah, I was really sore throughout the whole weekend, but every time I stepped onto the competition floor, like, I wasn't limited by that. Like, my body performed to what I know it can perform. And everyone has those days in the training where you're like, oh, I was be able to do this way faster, but today, like, I'm just tired. Like, I can't just lift as much or go as fast as I normally do. I'm just getting more tired. And I think just the increased volume, and my body was prepared for it, even though I was super sore. I'll still be able to go out there and execute, just like hitting my PR snatch on event 12, you know what I mean? Even though I was feeling wrecked.
And so, your body's feeling beat up, and like, but recovery is so important, right? Obviously. So what type of things are you doing in between events? I mean, I imagine obviously you have like the cold plunge and ice baths and whatnot, but how about nutrition? How about recovery? Like, I almost feel like the CrossFit Games are becoming just as much about your fitness as they are about your recovery, if not potentially even more. So what does that look like, especially, and we'll take this CrossFit Games in particular?
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, it all started in training. That's why I was doing like 4 small sessions throughout the day, because I needed to practice it, like practice my recovery and see what foods I like, what I could eat close to an event and not bother my stomach, and just kind of figure out like all those things. And it was honestly hard, and you kind of like pick and pick to see what feels good. And for me, I kind of found like I front loaded my nutrition in the morning and at night, and I like ate a bunch. Like my breakfast, it took me like an hour and a half to kind of put down. Like I would wake up, start eating it in my hotel room. Then I would like eat it on the way to like athlete briefing, eat it throughout athlete briefing, and try to be done with it by the end of that. And
what did that entail? Was that like an egg, bacon, peanut butter? What was your breakfast? What's a typical breakfast when you're competing?
Yeah, so I would have I had 4 eggs, 2 pieces of toast with jelly on it. And then I had a cup of oatmeal with a bunch of like strawberries and blueberries in it. And it just took me a long time to eat. I would like, before I left my room, I would eat my eggs and toast. And then on the way to athlete briefing, I would just try to put down all my oatmeal.
You know, back in earlier CrossFit days, they wouldn't give us the schedule of events. And so you almost had to always be at a state where you were prepared to go perform. But now, because they have a little bit more of a schedule, does that really help when it comes to food and timing it? So if you front load and you back load, right? So you eat a lot in the morning and then at night, you eat a lot. What occurs throughout the duration of the day? Because, you know, you might have 2 or 3 events, and how does that work?
Yeah, dude, I brought like a Yeti backpack, like literally filled to the brim with food. Like I had so many different things, like all the things I ate in my training. I had like wraps with like meat and cheese, and then I had peanut butter and jellies and fuel for fires, fruit snacks, granola bars, yogurt, just like berries, fruit. And just, it was pretty much a game of like whatever I could get down, I'm getting down. And I ate probably like 10% of what was in that bag, but like, you know, if you're training, like you're never hungry. So you're trying to sit in there. I'm looking at my bag. I'm like, what could I eat right now? And then I'll take a bite of something. I'm like, not that. And then I'll grab something else and try to eat. And you kind of, like you said, you can see the kind of schedule now. And like, sometimes you only have like an hour break in between event, and you'll see one that's, oh, I have 2 hours. Okay. That's the time I got to eat my meal. Like I got to have like my lunch or whatever you want to call it then. But, yeah, I ate like tons of fruit snacks and just carbs, just trying to get as many carbs as I can in.
And so that was from a nutrition perspective. How about what else? I mean, like foam rolling, ice baths, like sauna. I mean, any of that stuff come to mind, or not really? Any like crazy weird thing that you do that maybe people don't know about from a recovery perspective?
No, nothing too crazy. I definitely like, I don't ice bath. I'm not kind of an ice bath person in my training. But when it comes to competition, I think it could be really helpful when you're hitting this such high volume over a couple of days. Like I think it really makes a difference. And I try to get in almost every workout. I would try to ice bath for just like 5 minutes, get in, wait till the body kind of went numb, and then get out. And other than that, it was a lot of like hypervoleming and stuff. And what was really cool about like the games this year is we had a day off after Wednesday. And like that was like, okay, like I gotta beat everybody. Like that was like another competition day, and sort of like I'm going to be more recovered than anybody else. And it was something I'd never done before, and that's why we have a team of people. But like I went on 3 10-minute walks, but it was not like a walk. It was like a 10-minute walk for time. Like you're not running, but like you're speed walking as fast as you can. It was really weird. I've never done it before.
Have you ever seen that? Like, have you ever seen it in the Olympics where like official speed walkers, like your heel and your toe have to be touching the ground at the same time, but have you ever seen that on TV? It's
that's what I felt like. I was like, it was super funny. I mean, it was cool. Like people actually recognized me this year, which is kind of different. And like me and my coach are out there like speed walking down, like we're go 5 minutes out and then try to go faster 5 minutes back, or we're speed walking like by people. It was really funny, but I do like we did 3 10-minute walks. I did like a 20-minute like flush on the C2 bike, just at like 2 minute to 2:10 pace, just kind of nice and steady, just kind of get a little bit of a sweat going, flush out. I stretched. I had Normatec boots. Like I hypervolted, just literally doing everything that I possibly can. And I don't know if it helped or not, but it definitely didn't make me worse. And just kind of like in my head, like, okay, after Thursday, I was like, I did everything I possibly could to be recovered. And another big part that I didn't say is sleep. I think sleep is like the number one on my list for me. Like even in between events, like a 10-minute nap, like is a game changer for me. If I can just like close my eyes, like reset and then get up and go, like is a really big help.
So 2 things on that. Why the speed walk? And then what does your sleep look like non-competition related?
Yeah. So the speed walk, I think it's just kind of the same concept as like flushing things out. Like you're getting your heart rate up and walking, but like you kind of get a sweat, like your legs get a flush, you're firing all your muscles and your whole body's moving really. When you're speed walking, like your shoulders are moving, your hips are moving, knees, legs, and you're kind of everything's getting like moved and situated. And my coach has kind of read a lot more about it than me, but it's just really good for your body. He said when people at his gym, if they have like back issues and stuff, like he prescribes them to like speed walk for like 10 minutes a day. Just kind of like helps everything get more aligned. Like your body's built to walk, just like it's built to squat. And he's just a big believer in it. And we did that and it helped. It worked for me. So
yeah, there you go.
It was definitely different, but I'm never against trying something new.
And then how about from a sleep perspective? So like during the training, like I'm a big believer in like to compete, like train the way you want to, like especially from a nutrition perspective. People used to say like, hey, what do you eat on game day? It's like, well, you really don't want to switch things up compared to what you were doing in training because you don't know how your body's going to react to these different things. And so my question is, leading up into competition or just in general, what does your sleep look like?
Yeah, no, I sleep's really big. I have to force myself to go to bed at a certain time because I like staying up late, and that's always a challenge for me. So I'm always in bed by like 8:30 or 9, so I'm asleep by 9:30.
Oh wow, okay.
Like I need like an hour to like, huh?
What time do you normally get up at?
Like 7:30.
Okay, so you get quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So I really try to get it, and like my sleep situation, like is really good at home. Like I have a really nice bed. I got like the 8 Sleep mattress cover. So I don't know if you know what 8 Sleep is, but like it cool. You can set the temperature of your mattress and it cools and it adjusts like throughout the night. And so like that's a big game changer. I have my own little air conditioning unit inside my room, so I can like set like the temperature because I really like it cold. If it's not cold in my room, like I just won't sleep well. I love being like all up in the blankets and all that stuff. So like I have a little air conditioning unit in my room. I have this like the sleep, like the mattress that cools and like blackout curtains.
Dude, it's so funny. My wife is the exact same. My wife needs blackout curtains and super, super cold. And I just freeze my ass off. And so we go back and forth on it. But I want to switch gears here a little bit. You know, obviously your games performances are incredible. But, you know, one of the things I messaged you about was like, I'm more curious about like your background, right? And so I know you grew up in Lodi, which is not very far from me. I'm here in San Jose. And like, tell me a little bit more, like you got into CrossFit at a really young age. And my son is 7 and I train with him regularly. We work out together. And one of the questions I always get is, hey, you know, when is too early for your kids lift weights? And for me and my son, it's more of a bonding experience. And because I'm pretty familiar with these lifts, I try not to push him too much, but just make sure he's moving well and whatnot. But you started lifting in 7th grade, like around like what, 12 years old? Yeah. What do you think about kids in strength training? What's been your experience there? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that it's super important. I think you can start them like as young as you can. And like, just like anything, like when kids want to learn a new language, they say it's best to do it when they're young because they just absorb it all and they learn it super quick. When you get older, it's hard to like learn new things. Like it just gets harder. And when you're young, if you can really teach like perfect form and good movement patterns, like it's just going to benefit them as they go on. Like you don't want them to get older than start lifting weights in high school and never done it before. And now they're just with their bunch of friends trying to see who can lift the most, and they're all lifting with terrible form. And that was a lot of what football training was like.
100%.
Like,
100%.
Oh my gosh. Like there's these guys that, dude, they're way stronger than me, lifted way more than me, but they're like reverse curling, like a 315 clean. I'm just like, how are you doing this kind of thing? But I think it's just, and then they get hurt, you know what I mean? And their back squats, like their knees are clamping in, their butts rising as they're going up. And it's just terrible to see, like, but when you're young and you can like learn those good forms, learn how to squat. And for like the most part, you look at a baby, they already know how to squat. They're already doing it. And you're just kind of reinforcing it. I mean, obviously I don't think it'd be too good to max out the lifts. And the only reason why that's not good is because when you max out a lift, then you're flirting with your technique. You know what I mean? Like, I know my max lifts aren't always the prettiest lifts, but that's why we do all the work at those lower percentages to just hammer that technique. So like, you don't even have to think about it. So when you do go for a max, like, it's just second nature. Like, you know how to move right. And yeah, so I started lifting in seventh grade. I started it in football. I learned tons of terrible techniques, and I joined my CrossFit gym and really learned how to move well.
Dude, it's so funny you mentioned that. So when I was playing football, like, I remember one time the coach got really big on this idea of like stimulating the muscle right before you got on the bus. So what we would do is we'd go into the weight room and go for a 1 rep max deadlift. And these were just gross deadlifts, and then get right on the bus. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from, but we would just all show up there, no warm up, cold, just go ahead and lift our 1 rep max and then get right on the bus and go to a game. And anyways, it doesn't matter. I agree with you. I think it's really interesting teaching these fundamentals at a young age and then how they carry over later on in life. So growing up in Lodi, and you played football, you wrestled too. So tell me a little bit more about your athletic background before. I mean, it's not, I was going to say before you found CrossFit, but dude, I mean, you found it in seventh grade. So it's not like, but you did both combined, right? So how did that process work between football, wrestling, and CrossFit?
Yeah, so I started in seventh grade, and I only did it to help me with like my sports, and that's why I did it. And honestly, my mom was one that got me into it, and I've always been like super competitive, and that started like in elementary school. I had like the best PE teacher, and we had just had like a get together to celebrate like winning the games at my house. And my mom invited her out. I haven't seen her since like sixth grade, so it was really cool seeing her. But like, she just like ingrained competition and like at a very young age. So in fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, we're on like the quarter system. So 4 quarters in a school year. And quarter 1 was like basketball, quarter 2 was soccer, football, and then like a version of rugby. And she like was the teacher for all the PE classes. So then she knew the kids, and we all would sign up. She'd make teams that are fair. And then we would have like preseason, regular season, playoffs. And then the 2 best teams would compete in like the Super Bowl or the World Cup or whatever it was. And we'd be able to like draft 3 other kids from the other teams that didn't make it. And the whole school would go watch that final event like each quarter. And it was like some of the best memories like I had, and got me super competitive into that. And it kind of just carried on. I carried that into wrestling and football. And my mom asked me to start CrossFit, and I was obviously very competitive, and she's telling me she did like a 7-minute workout. And I was wrestling with the high school team at the time. And I'm like, they go to the gym for like an hour and a half. You worked out in 7 minutes. And I was super curious about it and ended up joining, and it really helped. I don't think I would have been the wrestler I was without CrossFit, and I don't think I would have been the CrossFitter I was without wrestling.
And so tell me more about wrestling. So by the way, that's super cool about the elementary school and your PE teacher, because I think competition is very healthy. I think kids need to learn how to win and how to lose. And I think they need to, I think there's something very healthy about that, right? Done the right way.
Yeah.
And with our kids, we try and instill that. And I think that's really cool. You had that at a young age, because it teaches that level of like competition is okay,
Yeah.
So you transitioned to high school. So you wrestled in high school, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And did you decide like did you have plans to go wrestle in college or play football in college? Do you have any of those plans, or when did you know you wanted to kind of take a run at the whole CrossFit Games thing?
Yeah, so I quit football after my sophomore year in high school to focus on wrestling, and I really wanted to go to college for wrestling. That was my plan. I was a pretty decent wrestler. I made state twice, and in California, it's a big deal. And I had a couple offers to like some smaller schools, and I was starting to get really burnt out in wrestling. And I was like, okay, like I'm not going to pick a school for wrestling, but I'm going to go to a school I want to go to and then go out for the wrestling program. And I chose Boise State. I talked to the coach. I had a spot on the team for wrestling, not on a scholarship or anything. And a week before practice started, they cut the program. So there was no wrestling. I was like, well, I guess I'll just focus on CrossFit now. But before, I always was competitive in CrossFit. I did, before the CrossFit Games had a teenage division, there was something called the Gauntlet Series, which was kind of the CrossFit Games for kids.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I did that, and they had like a world, like competition at the very end of it. You had to do some qualifiers, and there's some people coming from like European countries all over, and it was in Southern California, and I did that competition. And then I made regionals in California my senior year in high school while I was still wrestling and stuff. So I've always loved CrossFit. There was never a question about if I loved it. I just never thought that it was like something that I could do competitively as a sport. And when I went to college, like my parents are super supportive. They're going to support me as long as I was wrestling. And since that ended, they kind of said the same thing. If you still really focus and train CrossFit, like we'll still help support you throughout college. And then I made regionals again freshman year. And then that next year, my sophomore year, I reached out to Adam and told him like, hey, I want to try to qualify for the CrossFit Games. Like, this is my goal. I have 3 years left in college. And I want to do everything I can to make it happen.
So wrestling in high school, and then playing football. Football is a team sport, obviously. Wrestling, it's kind of a team sport, but not really. How much of that do you think prepared you for CrossFit? Because CrossFit is definitely an individual sport from obviously the team side being separate, of course. But learning how to compartmentalize, what type of things have you done throughout high school? Because you're relatively young, right? What type of things have you done to compartmentalize from a mindset perspective? So things that I think about, right? Understand what's in your control, positive self-talk, these different types of things that are becoming more popular about speaking about how important the mind is. What types of things do you lean on? And then how did wrestling help that? Because wrestlers are some of the hardest workers in the room for sure. And I'm wondering how that helped you in between the ears more so than just the actual, physical application.
Yeah, and I think like the biggest thing that wrestling helped was just kind of like focusing on myself and doing what I can do, because I can't control what my opponent's doing, how he prepared or whatever that is. I can't worry about that. I can just focus on myself. And the call started when my first year of wrestling. I'm pretty sure I lost every match besides one, and I cried after every match. Like, I was just devastated, and I just didn't understand like that winning, losing. And
this is when you were this is not high school. This is before that, right? This is not
high school. This is before. Yeah, this is before. And I just like did not understand it. And these guys were so much better than me, and I always was competitive and really good at most of the things I did. And this, I was just getting my butt whipped on. And I had to learn that like, it's okay that that's happening. And if I don't like that feeling, like I got to work hard to make it happen. And I really just kind of dove in and started focusing. I was a really young age, so I was as good as I could get then, and just kind of really focused and worked hard, and then kind of see that work ethic like pay off on the mat and start like winning matches and make like the state tournament as a little kid. Like they have the state tournament or whatever it's called. And to see that progression was something that was like game changing. And I really learned that like, you can't get mad after a loss if you went out there and you wrestled good, but that guy was just better than you. It's like, it's out of your control. Like I went out there, like I did my moves. Like I was like, I did everything right, but that guy just beat me. And that was like, okay. But then the flip side of that is when you go out there and lose and you know that you did something wrong, and like, you know that you lost it because you didn't do something right, and just kind of like learning that balance. And like at the MAC, like I said, like I had a great performance. I felt like that weekend went great, but I got third, and I was super pumped up about it because I was like, everything went right. Like I PR'd my snatch, workouts I didn't think I was going to do good in. I crushed. Like I was super pumped. Even though I didn't win, that's what I wanted to do. I was super excited about third place. But let's say I was supposed to win and I like had some bad workouts and then I got third, I'd be really mad about that. So like that end outcome of getting like first or third or whatever it is, that doesn't matter. It's about like my execution and what happened. Like if you beat me and you're just better than me, like good for you. But I want to go out there and compete the best I can. And I had some events at the games where I got second in the workout, and I was just super mad because I was like, I left points out there. That was super mad. I could have won that and I messed up. And then I had some events where I got 15th and I was like, dude, that was everything I had. That went awesome. And just kind of like learning the balance of that.
And yeah, huge. And so kind of from right now, so your family, I saw your mom and dad at the games. I mean, I was at the games briefly, but I also saw them on like TV and whatnot. And so how have they been supportive? I mean, it sounds like they're super supportive. Now, do they still live in Lodi and then you're out in Vancouver?
At their house. But But yeah, so I'm only in Vancouver kind of in the competition year. I moved up there during the Open, and then I stayed there throughout the whole games and trained. And then I'm home right now. I'm about to go back to school next week. But like everything I've ever done, they're fully supportive of me. And I think it's just like every wrestling tournament, football tournament, they were there, and like no matter what, and they were there to like support me. It doesn't matter if I won or lost, they were there. And it was because I don't think too many people have that. And when I go out there, I know as long as I'm giving my best effort, like they're going to be pumped up for me. And if I have like a dream and passion, like they're going to be there and help me do it. And now that I'm found CrossFit and gave everything I have, like they were driving like hours to go to local competitions for me. And I was like, loved it. And that they're just like my biggest fans. And it's just, I don't want to disappoint them because they've sacrificed so much to help me get here to where I am today.
Absolutely. And so from a next step perspective, like what does the next week, couple weeks look like for you? Are you taking some downtime, you taking time off? Are you still training, or how do your workouts look like today?
Yeah, so I actually haven't worked out since the games. It's kind of new for me. I've never done before. I've just like, I've talked to other like athletes. I still feel like I'm new in the sport. I'm trying to learn as much as I can. And talking to Matt and Tia and all these people, I mean, they say that like it's very important to like take time off. So I think this is the biggest stretch of not working out that I've ever gone on. So it's definitely different, like really different for me to not go to the gym because I want to so bad. I'm on such a high after the games. Like all I want to do is go to the gym and work out with all my friends. But they said it's just super important for your body to go and decompress. And I just had a meeting yesterday with both my coaches, Adam and Jesse, and kind of getting a focus to the plan. And I'm going to do the Rogue Invitational, and that's in like 2 months. And I'm like, dude, like I want to work out right now. Like I want to be prepared and train for that. And just kind of important to focus on like, hey, this is the off season and our goal is to win the CrossFit Games again next year. And that comes with taking it easy right now. So it's kind of different because last year the games ended in October, and then we had to like kind of hop right back into it after, because the Open was just a couple months away, right around the corner. So it's been a really long season for me. And it's kind of nice to kind of decompress, take a step back and realize all that work paid off.
And so how about from like I know it's going to sound different, but like from a business perspective. So, you know, as much as you're an athlete, there's also like a business side of being an athlete with sponsorships and things like that. So do you also use like a marketing agency? And how's that process been? How's the process been getting sponsors and being an entity that's trying to build something for the long run? What has that process been like for you?
Yeah, it's been so crazy. And I never even thought about any of that happening until after Ireland. Like I won Ireland, and Adam, my coach, this like a living. And I was like, never crossed my mind. Like I just do this for fun. You know what I mean? And I ended up working with Live. They reached out after Ireland, and it was, they're so awesome. Like it's weird saying that like I have agents and people that like I trust and like, and they're my friends. Like I don't want to have like a transactional relationship where I just get emails, hey, post this, do whatever. And I can honestly say everyone I work with is like my friends, you know what I mean? And like my agency's Loud and Live, but that's Daniel and Matt O'Keefe. Like they're just like my friends. Like I text them every day, and they've helped guided me so much. And after Ireland, they're like, hey, like you need to bet, like you can do what you want. We're here for you, and we'll do whatever you want. So I had some people reaching out, and they're like, bet on yourself and let's not do anything until after the games. So I didn't sign any contracts after Ireland and before the game. I didn't sign anything on myself, because if you sign a contract if you're just like a regional level athlete, you sign a contract for X amount of dollars and you end up going to the CrossFit Games, getting top 10, you can sign for way more. But if you bought into like a 5-year deal, like you're kind of stuck getting that paid for however long. So it's been pretty crazy to see that. They told me to bet on myself. What if you get top 10? And I was like, last at the CrossFit Games, and to kind of go there and see what they said, like pay off, and I'm getting third place was nothing that I don't think any of us could have imagined. And the opportunities that came along with that has been unreal. And I really do believe I work with the best people in the game, with Noble, Rogue, GoWad, and signing with the Podium Company, with partnering with the Buttery Bros and Matt Frazier, just it's pretty crazy. It's unbelievable. I feel like I just got like jumped into the deep end right away. But like all those people are just like my friends now, and it's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And so I got to ask you a question before we stop talking. I got to ask. So tell me more about the mullet. Tell me more about how it got started, what it represents to you. What does it mean to you? Is it like serious in the front, party in the back? Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Like I said, I wrestled, so I always had a buzz cut because you just can't have long hair when you wrestled, and it's just easy to just buzz it off. And I had that for like 6 years, and then I decided that I was done wrestling. It didn't work out, so I grew it out. I found out I had curly hair. I had no idea I had curly hair. I awesome. And I went, and it was just kind of long and shaggy. I didn't know what to do with it. And I was going to do like a local partner comp. And my friend's like, dude, it'd be so funny if you cut your hair into a mullet. Like, I was like, well, back, I don't care. So like I cut it into a mullet, and I went to the competition. People liked it. And then a week after that, I was going to go meet Adam for the first time, because we decided we were going to work together, but I've never met him before. And I like pulled up. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot to cut my hair. Like, this is gonna be embarrassing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I hopped out of the car, and he's like, dude, is that a mullet? And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. And he's like, dude, I used to have a mullet. And it just kind of like grew into something. And right after that, I did Granite Games, and kind of people there liked it. I liked it. It's just this kind of grew on me, and now it's kind of, I think it's here to stay now.
So it's here to stay. It's
here to stay. It's not coming off.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's honestly so crazy.
Yeah,
go ahead. See, like being at the games, and like there's people there that got mullets because of me. Like it's just really cool to see the community kind of get behind it and get fired up, and it's really cool to see how much they get fired up about it. And yeah, like we're part of the best community. It's cool to see people kind of buy into it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was walking through the gym, and I was telling one of our coaches, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go talk to Justin. He's like, dude, tell him his mullet's legit. And if I had curls like him, I'd be doing the exact same thing. I was like, yeah, man, I'll let him know.
That's awesome.
So dude, you got another couple months left of school. Then you'll graduate with a kinesiology degree, if I'm not mistaken. And you're at the top of the game. I mean, period, in terms of CrossFit and the competition. You got a great team surrounding you. Tell me a little bit more about Adam and his mindset in terms of a coach. So does he also work with you is he like the everything coach? He's like the therapist, the programmer, tell me a little bit more about him and his approach. I'm curious.
Yeah, dude, he's honestly like just like my best friend. Like when I say like I'm up there in Vancouver living with him, like I live in his house with his wife and 2 kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, it's like that.
Yeah, like I'm like, yeah, so it's like that, and we're around each other 24/7. I mean, obviously he works and owns at the gym, and we live together. So it's just like I'm part of the family now, and we get to talk about like just everything. It's really cool to kind of have that, because he gets to see all aspects. He gets to see my nutrition, my sleep, and when we're there at night, like sitting around eating dinner, like we get to talk about the day, decompress, kind of see how workouts went, and he gets to see like the emotional side of things, because like at the games, like leading up to the games, like it was honestly emotional, like roller coaster. Like I feel the pressure of everyone has on me. I know I just got 3rd place. People are saying that, oh, like, is he going to be top of the leaderboard? What's going to happen? And I had really bad days like leading up to the games, just because you're pushing yourself so hard and the volume's so high. And to have him there and have him see that and still see the confidence that he has in me is just pretty unreal. Like it just allows me to keep pushing, because there's never been a doubt in his mind that like I could win the CrossFit Games. He's told me that since we started working together. He said, if you don't qualify for the CrossFit Games, this was like the first year, like last year, he's like, then you need to go get a new coach, because I didn't do my job, because he thought that I was fully capable of making the CrossFit Games. And if I didn't, it was his fault. And I'm like, dude, no, like I need you to be part of my team. And it's just really cool to see like how bought in he is, because like at times I feel like he wants me to win the CrossFit Games more than I want to win. And I think that's super important to have as a coach, because like we're both 100% bought in and willing to do whatever it takes to me.
That's awesome. I had a question for you. So from this year's games, did anything shake out differently than you anticipated in terms of like where people actually finish on a leaderboard? Any like major surprises to you, or do you feel like it was kind of consistent with what your thoughts were?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like actual people like on the leaderboard. One thing I was really curious about to see what happened is like I train by myself. Like I don't have anybody to train with. And you see all these training camps like popping up. You have Training Think Tank and Comp Train and the whole Proven group now. And I was like, dude, is this going to be like a game changer? Like, are these people just going to come in and just like crush the leaderboard? Like, I just didn't know what was happening. Like, I'm always training by myself, so I really don't know how I compare with everybody throughout the season. Like, the only markers that I have is like the open, quarterfinals, semifinals, and all these other people get to train with everybody like every day. So I wasn't sure how it was going to work out, and it was honestly pretty cool to see on the men's side of the leaderboard, the three guys on the podium are the three guys that train by themselves. And that was kind of a cool thing to look at. It's like, okay, like, hey, these training programs, like, it's not something you have to do. Like, if you're trying to make the CrossFit Games, like, you don't need to be training with high-level athletes or whatever it is all the time. Like, the top three guys at the podium train by themselves 90% of the time. So that was something that was really cool to see. And because I was questioning it all year, I'm like, dude, do I need to get a training partner? Do I need to join one of these programs or what? Because you see all of them popping up, and I just wasn't sure how I was going to play out.
That's really interesting. I mean, so I'm really curious on that. So you're right. Top three guys train primarily by themselves. There's definitely pros and cons to training in a group. I think the pros are you could push each other, but there might be cons because maybe you overtrain or the dynamic gets weird or whatnot. Do you see yourself pursuing a group? Because I imagine people are going to want to start gravitating towards you now that you are the champ and whatnot. Do you see yourself being more open to that, or do you like the idea of training on your own? Because it's almost like you're not chasing. So I've done both, and I think both have value. But when you're by yourself in your garage, it's you against yourself, and you're pushing because you don't know what the other guy can do. But if it's you against someone and you're maybe beating them on a consistent basis, maybe you don't push as hard. Like, I think there's gives and takes. And what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so like two things on that. I think one thing that was really crazy is if you watch stage one of the games, Matt Frazier on that Friendly Fran workout, like, blew everyone out of the water. Like, I don't know if you remember, like, the top, like, he got like 315 and second place was like 355. And then half that was like 355, 356, 358, like 401. And if you watch the video after, he's like, I don't know how I'm going to do on that one. I think people are going to go faster. And you look at the leaderboard and he just blew everyone out of the water because he had no one to see. Like, you know, he didn't know where he was, but I feel like if he did that competition with other people, he would have won it, obviously, but I think he would have been a lot closer because you're almost training scared because you don't know where everyone's at. And you're like, I got to sell every last like soul I have to like finish a workout. So I think that's one thing that's really different about it. And when you're training with a group of people, like, let's say I'm training with you, like, there's certain workouts that I just know that you're going to beat me on. Like, if we just do like a row workout, I'm like, oh, frick, dude, Jason's going to crush me. So I'm going to like back off on this one because he's already going to win. But if we do whatever it is, like a running muscle up workout, I'm like, okay, I'm going to beat him. I'm going to save my energy so I can crush him this workout. And I think that could be something because I don't know. I think there's a lot of things. And plus, like, I would never want to train with a competitor of mine. I don't want to give any of my secrets away. I don't want him to know what my weaknesses are. I don't want to know what I'm training every day. And I think if I did do that, I'd really like to train with a female athlete if I can get one, because we can compete in the gym every day, but we're not competing with each other on the leaderboard. Like, I can tell her all the secrets and knowledge that I've learned. And I'm still trying to learn so much more, but like, we can both try to make each other better and still compete against each other. Rather, if you're competing with a male athlete, it's like, dude, I don't want to tell him too much because he could be chasing me on the leaderboard at the game. So that's just one thing for me mentally. And if I'm training with a male athlete at the game and he's beating me every day in workouts, I'm just going to be in a terrible headspace all the time. Be like, dude, I suck at CrossFit. I'm not fit anymore. This guy's crushing me. And I just don't want to play that head game. Because there's some people that just like, you see people crush the open and then they go to the games and they're nowhere to be seen. So I think it's just, it's a really different aspect. And I think the mental game of CrossFit's way bigger than people think. And if you're not in like your fitness, then you're not going to do as good as you can.
So the mental side, and then I love what Tia and Matt had, right? And still have, right? But the mental side of CrossFit, you said it's a lot bigger than people think. Like, what? I agree with you 100%. But what exactly do you mean by that? Like, what in particular do people maybe not have a good perspective on from a high level CrossFit Games athlete, do you think?
Yeah, and it might just be like my personal opinion, but like I think you could pretty much give any workout, and there's someone that's stronger than me, someone that's faster than me, someone that could do more muscle ups than me. And somehow I go to the CrossFit Games and I win. And I'm like, these guys, they're posting on social media, like rowing 1Ks faster than I can row 1K. They're back squatting more than me, clean and jerk more than me, snatching more than me. And then we go to the games and I outperform them in those same workouts. Like, I'm just like, how does that happen? And I think they are questioning things going out into the workout, and you're limiting what your body can do. And I'm sure every CrossFit gym people like hear it like, your mind's going to shut off before your body does. You know what I mean? Like, your body can do amazing things. And if you can allow your mind to tell your body to keep going, like you never want to go out and do a workout and be like limited from what your body is capable of. You want to go out there and showcase your fitness to the best of the ability and not be limited to like, just because you're in a bad headspace. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't do. You know what I mean? Like, if you're questioning things, like, I think if you're super confident in a bad plan, like in a workout, is way better than having a great plan that you're not confident in, because you're just questioning things the whole time you're out there. But if you just go out there and just execute whatever it is that you're confident in, you're going to do way better than if you're out there with the best plan in the world, but you just don't believe in it, if that kind of makes sense.
Dude, 100%. And so on that note, before you go out for a workout or event, do you have a mantra or a slogan or something you tell yourself? Like, I had an old coach of mine. He used to tell himself, "I'm money, baby." That's what he would tell himself. And it was like a thing that he told himself, like, "I'm money, baby." I don't know, for some reason it got him in the right headspace. Do you have something you go over that reminds you of, like, something that I used to think about was move fast, breathe slow. What it reminded me to do is like to move with purpose, but to keep my heart rate under control. That was my kind of my thing that I did. Do you have something like that leading into an event?
I think the only thing that like was consistent going to each event is like me and Adam would be like, okay, like die for points. Like, just got to be willing to die for points. And that doesn't mean like, if you like, I think people like get behind in a workout and they're like, frick, I'm not going to win, cruise to the finish line. But like, no, like every point matters at the CrossFit Games. You look on the leaderboard, like people are separated by 2 to 4 points, and wasn't because of the last workout. Like, you could have lost that in workout number 5, and in workout number 15, you lost by 2 points, but you could have made that up way earlier in the weekend. So I think like the sprint for me was a big part of that. Like, I felt like I've been working on my sprinting so much, and I started the sprint and I got elbowed and pushed to the back of the pack. And I was trying to gain and go. And I'm like, oh, I got pushed to the back. I'm not in a good position. Like, I'm going to do so bad in this event. Like, that was like the first thought that went through my mind. I'm like, no, I'm in the back of the pack, but there's 2 guys in front of me. Like, I'm going to beat these 2 guys because there's 3 other heats. There's 2 guys in front of me. Like, I got to be willing to sell out no matter what. And I ended up like, I'm just going to pass every person I can. I ended up doing a lot better in the event than I thought I was, because I just got pushed to the back and I was like, dude, I'm going to get last. This is not good, because I was stuck behind people. I was trying to run, but I wasn't running as fast as I could because there's people in front of me. But just kind of go out there and just like, when I cross that finish line, I just want to know I gave everything I had. And if I can say that after every workout, then like, I'm not going to be mad about what the leaderboard says at the end of the weekend.
Dude, that's such an interesting perspective, this idea of like dying for points. And I know I mean, it's more of a figure of speech, but I think it makes total sense, because you're right. I've been in situations where let's just say like I expected to win or whatever it is. You're like, oh, and you just kind of get comfortable and get complacent, and like, you're like, shit, I'm not going to win. So I'm just going to kind of back off a little bit. And all of a sudden you get passed by 1 or 2 people and you feel like a total jerk afterwards. But I think your mentality is, before the event, die for points, right? Like, you're going for every single point. I love that, man. I think that makes total sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that was a big part of the weekend. And there's just a couple of times in the weekend where I crossed the finish line and I was like, I left something out there. Like I was very frustrated. I think the snatch was one of them. Yeah, I PR'd I tied my PR and hit 285. Then I went to the tie break and I missed my last snatch and three guys passed me. And I'm like, I was super pumped on my 285, and I'm like, I felt like I just lost it because obviously Fikowski was behind me in the leaderboard. He passed me. Patrick Vellner was still snatching. I'm like, I just gave up so many points to these guys. Like I just gave up 15, 20 points. And I was just like, walked across the finish line. And I was just like, dang it. Like you don't want to look at the end of the weekend. You got beat by 15 points. You're like, that's where it was. Like I lost it on that tie break right there. But it ended up not hurting me at the end. But it's something that it's just a terrible feeling to have because the guy didn't beat you because he was more fit than you. Like you lost it. I don't like that feeling. Like when I got third place last year, I was like, I deserve third place. Like I gave everything I had in those workouts. I didn't leave anything else out there. Like this was the spot I got and I felt like I deserved it and I executed to the best of my ability. And I wasn't mad that I didn't get first because I was like, dude, I did everything I could and I got third. And this year, if I did my same exact performance and I got 12th place, I'd be like, dude, I can't be mad about it because I executed to the best of my ability. Same thing at the MAC. I executed to the best of my ability and got third. And it's just like, well, that's what I had today. You know what I mean? And I think the cool thing about it is even if I got 12th or first, like there's still so many things I can improve on.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful perspective, man. I love that because you never know when's going to be your last competition, right? You have a long, I mean, you're young, you have a lot more to come, right? Of course. But like for me, like I never knew when my last competition CrossFit was going to be. I didn't know, for example, in my case, like my daughter got sick but to be able to walk off the field at any point and say, hey man, I gave everything I had. I sold out for points. I sold out for the win. You could always leave with your head held high, whether you got third or first. And I think that's a beautiful perspective to have, just through this conversation. I think, at NC Fit and at our company, we really lean into this idea of like effort over everything. And this podcast used to be called Business of Fitness, but I renamed it to Effort Over Everything. So I just really believe that's something that we should lean into in everything, right? Whether you're husband, father, business owner, athlete. And it sounds to me like, dude, everything you're doing right now, you're just putting in your best effort. And I don't know if I think that probably stems from your childhood and your parents, and then also wrestling. But you just seem like a dude who's just grinding every day.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, it's perfect analogy for you. It's like effort over everything. Cause that seems like what you're putting into everything you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's awesome. I think just after Ireland, I finished the competition and I was so focused on, okay, act like you've been here. Like you won the competition, but don't get too excited. Don't do this. My dad came and gave me a hug and I felt like I was just trying to downplay everything instead of just soaking in the moment. Like, oh my gosh, I just won a sanction and I'm going to the CrossFit Games. And I felt like I didn't get to soak in that moment as much as I should. And that was something that I regretted. And going on to the MAC and the CrossFit Games this year is I want to soak in some of these moments because I'm honestly doing something that people wish they could do. And after the MAC, I was like, you know what? I just had a great workout. I'm going to walk into the stands and say hi to my family because that's what I want to do right now. And I want to say what's up and see how pumped they were about my finish. And same thing at the games. I'm not one to kind of over celebrate or be cocky. I don't want to be that person, but there are some times where dude, I'm going to win my heat at the freaking CrossFit Games in the Coliseum. I'm going to celebrate a little bit. I'm going to get the crowd into it, hit my last lift, feel good about it. And it's super cool because now I can look back at the CrossFit Games and I have some experiences where I'm dude, that was once in a lifetime. I can't picture that happening again because I don't want to celebrate and act cocky, but then sometimes it's just so cool. The clean event where Patrick and Brent both failed their lift and I hit mine and then crossed the finish line. It was the biggest adrenaline jump I've ever had. And I just yelled and screamed, and I'm not one to do that too often. And it was just I walked back and Adam, I am on such a high right now. I was I need to calm down because I am super pumped. And it was just really cool to have some of those moments to kind of soak in the moment. Obviously you're there for business, but you're doing something that people wish they could do. And I just wanted to soak that in and have some memories they'll never forget.
Bro, I got to tell you, man, I've really enjoyed this conversation. You have a lot of depth to you. You have a lot of your mindset is critical, and you just seem like a really good dude, man. And I'm super happy for you. I'm so I'm so grateful that you took the time to talk to me, and you just seem like a great ambassador for the sport. You seem like a great champion. And I think it's just the beginning of a lot for you. So, I just want to thank you for your time and your humbleness, dude. I get those moments, like, bro, there are those moments, and people want to celebrate them with you, like they see that moment, because although that's one moment with the clean event at the games, that took you years to build up and get ready for it. And to you, it's not just that one moment, it's all this culmination, dude. And people want to celebrate that with you, man. I think, it's really, really good what you have going on. And I think it's just the beginning of something really special. And so if people want to get to know more about you, I think this is an example of what we could do. But if they want to, I don't know, where could they follow you on social media? How can they engage with you? What would be next steps for them?
Yeah, no, I have my Instagram, Justin Medeiros34. And this offseason, I really want to start I have a YouTube channel that's up. I have a couple of videos out. It's something I really kind of want to put out and kind of just show people how my days look. I want to put out 5 to 10 minute videos of just what I'm up to this off season, like what my plan is, what my training looks like, and some of the cool things I want to do and kind of enjoy this off season before I really dive deep into it during next season. So you can go to my Instagram and I'll have a link on there to go to my YouTube channel. But those are the two kind of places you can follow me along this year.
I love it, dude. Well, good luck on the Rogue Invitational. It's your next competition coming up. Dude, great success with finishing out your degree. Congratulations on that. It's such a big accomplishment. And like I said, man, thank you so much for taking the time today to speak with me. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Yeah, man, dude, thanks for having me on. It was awesome talking to you.